Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, back to a little normalcy after that video the other day. I appreciate the support on that one. I knew that was probably going to be a fun video. And two things I actually kind of want to mention about that video briefly in this game, because one of them was a great question that a lot of you guys had in that video, and it kind of was based off of the A and C spawns, and they said, what happens if you spawn in the middle? Now, of course, here on North, the B spawn is centrally located with a linear kind of ABC domination style. But on other maps, with Hotspot, I think being one of them, just go to where your team isn't, right? If you see 3 destroyers on one side and you're a destroyer, go to the other side. But here, obviously, when you have a Bravo cap, you want to kind of get around there, see how the game kind of develops, and play accordingly. And the other thing I just want to touch on briefly was a few people, ironically enough, commented on that video. There was a few negative ones. There always will be, of course, on the internet. But also a few people were like, hey man, this is just a huge waste of time, etc. And you're absolutely right. I said that in the video. And to be quite honest, when I first started playing this game, you know, I am no saint, right? I am not a perfect role model, but I have learned and tried to mature through the ways, you know, developing and having an influence in this community. I hate the word influencer, but regardless. And what I wanted to accomplish with that is just to provide a little bit of, you know, grandfatherly advice. So if you took it that way, of course, I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to try and change half of the community. They will never change. But on average, I just want to have a better attitude in the community. And that's not to say we can't get frustrated. You guys see me get frustrated almost every other stream. It's the nature of video games and competitive games, you know, in a whole, essentially. But let's go ahead and get back into the action here. We spawn in the middle, and we are already in our coveted, you know, J-hook turn defensive position here. And this is one of the best positions you can be in the Petro. The armor is just really good for this angle. On top of that, you can get all of your guns on target. In the meantime, though, and kind of a backstory to this game, we have already gotten 2 citadels, and there's one more on a broadside Worcester. And here's just a perfect example. I love it when life gives me lemons and I can make a perfect video out of it. This Worcester spawned at B and decided to immediately leave his flank. He is now dead in 2.5 minutes. Now, again, you can play the game however you want, and if that's how he wanted to play the game, that's fine. But me, personally, I prefer to do a little bit better than lasting 2.5 minutes. Nobody tell my fiance that. So instead of staying near the cap and utilizing the mass amounts of island cover, he decided to sail flat broadside, avoiding and leaving his spawn. And, well, you can see the results. I love it when a video comes together like this. You will also notice that we did stay near our spawn. I'm not going to say that we rushed into Bravo, and we certainly haven't captured it yet. And this is also a rather unique game in the fact that there's no destroyers. But regardless, even if a destroyer did, in fact, get that cap, we are in no danger whatsoever. And contrary, we also have 1 kill, as well as 50,000 damage. On top of that, we have only lost about 6,000 or 7,000 health, despite being shot at, you know, multiple times, including this Azumo here. And a lot of that, you know, saving of our HP is due to our angling and our position. I also want to point out very quickly that Alaska, who, if you just saw a few moments ago, was full health, and he is now down to about, what, 10 or 15k, losing 80% of his health in 1 salvo. And this is a good contrast, you know, of the 2 extremes, right? I believe that Alaska did spawn at the Charlie side, but instead of, you know, kind of just seeing what developed, he pushed blindly through, and he is now dead. And that, again, it's just, this video is a perfect example of kind of calling back to the video on Monday. The Worcester on the enemy team left his spawn, died immediately. The Alaska stayed at his spawn, but rushed in blindly, and they are both now dead. So a little bit of patience combined with a little bit of minimap awareness, a general understanding of what your ship can do, and you will probably have a better overall experience and not get some potentially nasty messages from your teammates. But sort of, you know, once again, calling back to our video yesterday, instead of sending that nasty message, just send one, or number one, maybe don't send one, but if you do send one, just say, hey man, you know, take it a little bit slower next time, or hey, radar the DD. Now, again, you're trying to get through to people who sometimes just want to see their ship sailing nicely on the waters, and I am no saint in this regard. You look at few of my messages 3 and 4 years ago, I was probably probably not the best role model, as I've said a few times. But anyway, let's get back to the game here. As you guys can see, we had a massive ship advantage, and of course, the blue team, in typical blue team fashion, they have quickly thrown that away. But here you can actually see I'm working my way towards the Bravo cap. I'm slowly reversing here, and I'm not going to shoot. Number one, because nothing is spotted. But number two, once we lose that concealment, we will be undetected, and we can work our way into the B cap and go ahead and capture that. Once we capture that, we can sort of go away from the B cap without any threat of destroyers. We can push away and develop a crossfire. Here's also a good example of what you should do if your flank is overrun. This Montana, while he did stay, I believe he stayed around the A cap, he was on the weak side. He is kiting away and towards his team. Now, honestly, I would have kited a little further north, but at this point, you're just trying to recover losses. And this is, again, all 3 points of what to do and each situation have occurred in this video. And I think this is a perfect video to follow up the one yesterday. But here we are working our way into the Bravo cap, and that is when we notice a Yamato is pushing through the C cap. So we do want to get some cheeky citadels, and another, like I said, subplot of this video is the crazy amount of citadels we get, and they are coming, don't you guys worry. I do like to save the video, the juicy stuff for the end of the video. But we're not going to shoot here. We're just trying to get this cap. When you shoot, sometimes you give up your concealment. You don't necessarily know where other ships are. And a ship with a lot of range, that ring, once it goes out, any ships in that ring will get you spotted. So sometimes you will see, people just shooting in obnoxious scenarios when they definitely should keep their guns dark. And yes, they may get 2,000 and 3,000 damage, but if you're flat broadside or, in a position here with this Yamato, you definitely don't want to give that up. But we have secured the cap now, and this Yamato is focused on another ship, which is doing here's a perfect example of what you should do. I'll go ahead and zoom in on the mini-map here, but our battleship on the seaside, he's on the weak side, right? He stayed around the seaside until it was lost, and he is now kiting basically straight south. And what that has done, as you can perfectly see here as we get another citadel at, 12 kilometers here on a Yamato with a cruiser, is he has given his entire team the broadside, gifted us with this broadside Yamato here. Now, of course, this is a little bit of a lack of awareness of this Yamato. He should have known that we were here. But regardless, he chased out that kite, and he has now been eliminated. So a perfect execution of what to do if you are on the weak side, staying near your side, but also kind of kiting out and kiting away, drawing out that crossfire. So again, just a perfect follow-up video for kind of explaining what we were talking about, in our points in the video on Monday. If you haven't seen that, it's titled like Toxic or whatever. I'm sure most of you have. But if you haven't, it's honestly a good watch. It's a fun video. It also took me a while to make, so make sure you watch the ads on that one. No, I'm just kidding. Also, it was kind of ironic. I got a few toxic troll comments on there as well, but I honestly hope those people have a better day, typing from the bowels of their mother's basement. But regardless, let's go ahead and finish out this game here. As you can see, we have a notable advantage being up one ship and up a cap. But every time it seems like we go up 3 scores, our team decides to just let up an easy one, is a good analogy that I can kind of come up with in the moment. As you can see, this Mino kind of rushing blindly into a Des Moines, as well as an Izumo there and a Yamato on his flank. Now, I'm not sure if he was running smoke, etc., but pushing blindly into these situations is how you throw games. It happened to us the other night on stream. I was in the Hawk, and I wasn't really paying attention. Sometimes I just lose focus streaming. And our team, we were up like 2 or 3 ships, and the enemy was all bunched in one square as this Izumo comes out broadside, and we get another citadel. I just love the Petro, man. There's something about, playing a cruiser with 220mm guns and just getting those, glorious citadels, as well as knocking battleship turrets. But there you can see that Mino has lost all of his health very quickly, and now we are tied on ships. So objectively, the right play here is just to turn and kite. We also have that Yamato out on our broadside, but I'm going to be quite honest, I was getting a little bit greedy, so making the same mistake I did the other night, talking about that Hawk game, we just slowly pushed in one by one, and you can improve your win rate. There's many different things you can do, but paying attention to wins and losses like that, or situations where you don't need to push in, right? I know sometimes it can be fun, and it's meant to have fun if you don't really care too much about win rate, or XP or whatever, but sometimes you might be ruining the experience for other people. So just find a good middle ground. We eliminate that Azumo. You can see our battleship to the north is chasing that other battleship. So I decided at this point to go ahead and push this Yamato. I know the armor scheme of the Petro, we have enough health points, and because we managed our health so well, I can sort of play with my health points, right? We have a pretty low health Yamato, and he's actually kiting away. I have to give that gentleman, that Yamato, huge props. He did everything correct on the weak side. Now, sometimes those games are not the most fun, you know, kiting and running, and of course the guys who drive lifted trucks are going to tell you that, you know, you're not playing like a man. But in that situation, he gave our team a tremendous advantage. Instead of just rushing in, such as the Alaska did, or instead of just sitting there, or even worse, abandoning his flank. So I hope you guys kind of learned all these lessons here, but it is time to have a lot of fun as we kind of draw in closer to this Yamato. Now, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't recommend this maneuver for the potentially average player. I'm in a cruiser a tier lower going against a ship with the ultimate overmatch, but because I know this ship, I know its armor scheme, and I know how to angle, you can kind of see we're at like a slightly 15 or, you know, in between 15 and 30 degrees here. We're also paying attention to the ships to our left, but putting your ship at this angle instead of straight on, the Yamato can overmatch all bows in the game. But by putting the ship like this, he's more likely to hit my side and upper belts, and the citadel plate of this ship can bounce Yamato shells if angled correctly. Now, if you lose a little bit of that angle, as you kind of see, I was trying to turn out, I didn't know where that Des Moines was, and we actually take a little bit more of a chunkier penetration. He hits our upper belt, potentially, and a little bit of our superstructure. But as we just mentioned, those are kind of our fun points. You know, we get to play with a little bit of our HP here. Now, I will say, if you're in a little bit of a closer game or you're not winning, you probably shouldn't have as much health as this Yamato does. If you're in a battleship and you're in a close game, you shouldn't have all of your health. That means you either position poorly or, you know, you were just backline sniping. I see a lot of battleship players just back up immediately and they lose instantly. They're like, oh, well, I saved my health. Well, it doesn't matter. You lost. So, but we do thank him for that because we are going to go for the juicy drive-by, and this is where we get just a glorious amount of citadels. Now, of course, we don't have an appropriate angle, and we were sort of in a tricky spot here, but thank goodness for our other Yamato, he did push around. Now, I could have aimed for that cheek, and if you don't know what we're talking about, there's a slight angled citadel portion of the Yamato right under the second turret, which allows you to get, you know, citadels at pretty, you know, close angles here instead of just being flat broadside. Unfortunately, this Yamato kind of angled up at the last moment, so that is why we aimed at the turret. But we're going to go ahead and push in here. This island kind of, you know, ruined our complete drive-by play, but he's slowly pushing around. And I think I have enough. I have enough for one, but unfortunately we got a few more bounces, but because we are maxed on our epic reload, we get a reload a lot quicker than he is going to get it. We aim right there under that second turret, and boom! 40,000 damage, 6 citadels, 6 for 6 on the turrets. We actually don't get the rear turret around, which is probably a good thing because he chunked us pretty good on the side, and one of those could have potentially been a citadel, but because we were angled, you know, not getting the third turret on, we were probably safe from being massively deleted by him. We aimed at the same spot, but we're, you know, pushing back to that auto bounce region. 1 citadel there, but in quick succession, we went from 6 citadels to 16, and just a fun overall experience. That is probably one of, you know, the most fun things in the game for me is citadeling battleships, especially Yamatos, up close. And here comes the ultimate just fun moment when the Yamato takes my last kill. I think 2 or 3 of those kills had been taken from me, but again, kills are irrelevant. As you can see, we have had a fantastic game already. 223,000 damage, 16 citadels, 1 cap, 1 assist, and there's only 1 ship left. We do actually manage to get the kill, but I'm going to go ahead and speed it up here for you guys for a nice finishing total of, what, 225,000 I think it is? Yeah, 225,118, even though it says 117 on the final screen. I don't know, a point of damage was robbed from me, but a beautiful XP total, 3,288. And there it says, again, you can see 117, but I don't think we were necessarily rewarded for the amount of XP we have. And here is our commander. It is BD Lightful, and I've actually since switched my commander, or the 4th slot there, to Fear My Roar. I know a lot of you guys asked for my commander build, so there it is. Also, this video was captured from a while ago, if you couldn't tell from the menu. I save a bunch of replays for when I feel like they're applicable, and this one fit perfectly into yesterday or the day before's video. Also, we were just given patch notes. I was wrong. I thought it was going to be a 2-week update, but apparently it's going to be a full one. So that is nice, something to look forward to. And they did release the campaign ship. It's the Jaeger, I believe, which we have already gone over. So if you want, you can go. I'll try and put that video up in the. I don't know how YouTube does that, but I'll try and put it up there for you guys. If not, you can go ahead and search my channel. But that was the video. Let me know what you guys think. Another Chad Petro gameplay there. But love you guys. Have a great day. I'm out. Peace.